Okay. All right. Can you guys hear me all right?
Yes.
Yes. Okay, good. All right. So we got a PowerPoint I put together for this for Santa Cruz, go over the details of the race, some execution things. If you've raced Santa Cruz before and you hear something or you know something or you want to give a heads up to the team about something, please speak up. Put it in the chat, put it unmute and say it because we got to learn from each other, learn from our past experiences, and hopefully we touched everything in this presentation. But obviously, there's some stuff that we don't have on here. They might have learned it from the course. So just an FYI there. So let's get into it. Are we good, Chris O'Driscoll?
We are good. Yep. Let's go. We are live, as Cody would say.
As
We are
Cody
live.
would say, we are live. Okay, let's
We are live.
play this. Santa Cruz 70.3. Brought to you by Tower 26. Let me see if this thing's working. Hang on. I want to be able to see the questions. So, okay. So questions, ask them if you have them. If you're watching this after the fact, write in the comments on YouTube or Facebook, wherever you have comments. Like I said, if you've raced Santa Cruz 70.3, please speak up. If you want to give everybody a heads up on something, speak up. Because yeah, like we said, we learn from the course, we learn from our past experiences. Write it in the chat. Yeah. This is the list of Tower 26 athletes that I got from them this week. I saw a few athletes that weren't on here. That means they had to go to their Ironman profile, update it, put Tower 26 as their club. David Welby, Chris Kadima, or Chris, your last name's whatever. You know you. You have to add Tower 26 as your club. Anyone else you don't see on here that you know is a member of Tower 26, swims for us, rides with us, trains with us, get them to go to their profile and add Tower 26. We're in the contention for one of the top clubs in the race, so I want to take that title. As I said, go to your Ironman profile. That's where you do that. All right, 9 a.m. Saturday. Because of Coach Chris, he reminded me to do this. 9 a.m. Saturday on the south side of the pier. Bring your swim gear. We will have a team swim. We're also going to take a photo. So we all want to get in on that photo. So bring your smiles, whiten those teeth, brush your teeth before you come. And we'll take a good team photo, 30, 40 deep. So any questions on that? Somebody monitor the chat. Max, can you monitor the chat? If anybody has questions, you could let us know. All right, race day checklist. Obviously, you need a triathlon kit. 2 sets of goggles. There's a chance it could be foggy. I looked at the surf line today. It was pretty foggy. So bring a clear set of goggles in case it's really foggy. Bring a tinted set in case the sun comes out. Obviously, you're going to need a wetsuit. The temperature is 61 to 63 degrees, somewhere in there. And then one thing I like to do if you're worried about cold water, I take Vaseline. I obviously put it on any hot spots where I might get rubbing from the wetsuit, but I also put it on any exposed skin. I put it on the back of my hands. I put it on my cheeks. I put it on my nose, the top of my feet. Anywhere you have exposed skin, it's going to help repel that cold water, keep you a little warmer if that's an issue for you. But honestly, the cold water sets us up for a better rest of the day. We don't get overheated. The core temperature stays down. Once you get through that initial warming up phase, it's actually a better situation than swimming in anything warmer. For the bike, obviously, you need your bike, your helmet, your cycling shoes, socks, sunglasses, water bottle, nutrition, race belt. You don't need to wear your race belt on the bike for this one, so don't worry about that on the bike. We'll talk about nutrition later. Have stuff in case you get a flat. You can change that. And then I'll have a pump. I'm not going to bring it to transition, but I'll have a pump the day before. We're all dropping our bikes off the day before on Saturday. So you'll be able to pump your tires in transition race morning. And they always have pumps there now. They're all lined up along the sides of the transition racks. There's usually pumps every 10 to 20 meters. So use one of those pumps to top off your tires if you need it. Running shoes. For the run, you need your shoes, your race belt, hat, visor, nutrition, salt. It becomes pretty humid on this course, guys. So don't forget some supplemental salt to take out with you onto T2. We'll talk about that in a bit too. So if you don't have salt pills or anything like that to supplement with on the run, something you want to think about buying in the next day or two. Other things you might need: training device, body glide. Just use Vaseline. Sunscreen. If you put on sunscreen, put it on your hotel room or where you're staying. Put that on before you leave in the morning, and don't put it above your eyes. Everything below your eyes, put it on your nose, your cheeks, any your arms, your legs, whatever you want to put it there, but don't put anything above your eyes, because once you start to sweat on the bike, it's gonna roll down right in your eyes. You can get that burning, and it's a brutal burn. So riding with your eyes closed is not recommended. And then a change of clothes. Some obviously what you wear to the race, you can wear after the race. If you want something fresh, put something in there, and you'll have that for after the race. Here's the weekend schedule. Any questions on what anybody needs? Anything? We good? You can unmute or put it in the chat. Either way, we're family. You can talk if you want to. Good. All right. So make sure you get checked in on Saturday, Friday. Yeah, go ahead.
Hey, AWA, if you want to get that, you need to show up before noon. As you can see right there, you gotta just make sure you get in before noon on Saturday.
Johannes, what did you just do with an AI companion? What does this mean? Come on.
So it gets you better, right? Go
You
ahead.
get your summary, Jim. You can send out to people.
Okay, I don't know. I can't click on it right now. So
Oh.
you're screwing up my groove here, buddy. All right, so let's make sure you get there's a Friday schedule too. You can get checked in. And good note there, Johnny, the AWA athletes. Let's use that to your advantage if you can.
What, Jim, what is the AWA program?
So at the end of the year, you get ranked. John, why don't you tell them what the AWA is?
Yeah, so you are ranked by 3 Ironman races. They take your points, and then at the end of the year, they will assign you a level such as a bronze, silver, or gold based on your percentage. Either way, even if you're bronze, you can still have the advantage of checking in early. Sometimes skipping lines. Also, you get a lower bike number, which sometimes when you're racking really helps. I had it at Oregon, and I was right near the bike out gate, which probably,
And is
saved
that
me.
AWA just assigned to you from 2023, or do you have to like apply for it?
No, it will be assigned. Once you've done 3 races, you automatically have your AWA, and you will then you can look it up and see where you are for the following year.
Yep. Okay, good. Well done. So pay attention to Friday's schedule if you're there and you want to get checked in. I just put Saturday and Sunday on here. So get checked in somewhere 9 to 4. Make sure you drop your bike off anywhere after. You got to go check in first. Get your all your stickers and all that, and then you go drop your bike off sometime throughout the day. Go on the later end of the day. Don't go right at 9, 10 a.m. Wait till 3, 4 o'clock to go drop your bike off.
Hey, Jim, Garrett has a question about the AWA for you and John.
And then you also, hang on, you also get your timing chip when you drop that bike off. So you don't get your timing chip when you check in. You get it at transition after you drop your bike off at your rack. So don't think you're going to get it there. Pay attention to those athlete briefings. Even though we're gonna do a good job here describing the course. Athlete briefings, they usually tell you things like no pass zones, or things that you might need to have a heads up for on race day. So if you can attend one of those athlete briefings, 10, 12, or 2, go do that. And I think there's one on Friday too. Saturday, transitions opens at 5, closes at 6:30. Race starts at 7. It's a rolling start, so you will line up with the way they do it in marathons, 25 minutes, 30, 35, 40. You'll line up with a group with what you think you're going to swim, and then you roll from there. That starts at 7 a.m. They will have the award ceremony at 3 p.m. So just some little information there if you wanted to take note of those. What's the question there, Max? Oh,
We
what's the
took care of
question?
it.
We got it. 3 races in 1 calendar.
Yep.
You guys figured it out? Okay,
Yeah.
good.
Yeah. Keep
Name?
moving.
Okay, good. All right, so Sunday, let's see, did I skip Saturday? Okay, Sunday race day. Let's wake up early, give yourself plenty of time to eat and digest. Usually 2.5 hours prior to race start. So if race starts at 7, you're gonna eat around 4:30, 5 o'clock. Something easily digested: oatmeal, jam, scoop of peanut butter. Don't have tapatio or Tabasco on your eggs. Stay away from eggs. Eggs kind of sit in your throat sometimes. So eat something that's easily digested and that you've practiced before in training. Bring a bar or a banana or something you can eat a little bit before the start, because if you're eating 2.5 hours, bring something that's really easy on the stomach, a banana or like a Cliff Bar or a Morton bar or something like that you can eat if you get hungry. make sure you're sipping on your electrolytes, pH 1500 from the start of the day, from when you wake up. And let's remember that pH 1500, if you're looking at me over in the corner, it's 2 packets of this makes up 1500. If you're taking 1500 and you're only taking 1 packet, look at the back. 1 packet's only 750, right? So they branded it. I don't know what the deal is that they're branding. We're going to ask them next time we're on the podcast, but it's 2 packets of 1500 or 2 tablets. If you have the fizzy tablets, 2 tablets to make 1500 milligrams of sodium. So you want to start sipping on that first thing in the morning, all the way up until when you go to the, the swim start. Get to the venue, get some air in your tires, air pressure on this course. Mulcahy, what do you say?
Well, if you're going tubeless, you want to go around 85, 80, 85.
Yeah, 80 to 85 for tubeless. And even if you have tubes in there, you don't want to be you want to be anywhere above, I'd say 90. So you might want to check the ratings on your tires, but even if you have tubes in your tires, you want to keep it around 90. Don't go too high.
If anybody has a question, come see me.
If you see an open porta potty, use it. Even if you don't think you have to go in there and try and get your business done, because it's rare to find an open porta potty. So see open porta potty, get in there. When you get to transition, to set up the things you need. Don't add a bucket. Don't add a bunch of other stuff. There's going to be 2,000 bikes in there, and you want to be able to get to your transition, get in and get out quickly. You don't want to have all this other stuff to hurdle over because you put too much in there. So bike shoes, helmet, socks if you're going to wear them, and then your run shoes, socks, race belt, and a hat or whatever if you're going to wear anything on your head. So keep it easy, keep it simple. It's going to help you get through transition quicker. When you get to your bike rack, make sure you can do this on Saturday as well. Make sure you find the swim in and bike out, so you know the path you're going to take to your bike from the swim, your path you're going to take from the transition to the bike out, and the path you're going to take from the bike in to the run out. So you're not in the dark on a race day when you're going through all the stress of the effort and the stress of everything that's going on around you. You don't have to think about where you're going to run or where you're going to walk as you're going to the next discipline. And once you get set up and you get everything going, get down to the swim start early so you can go for a little bit jog, just like we do on Wednesday and Sunday mornings. We want to go for a little 5-10 minute jog. Then when we get in the water, swim easy for, not too long because it's so cold. But, if you swim 3 to 5 minutes, just feel the water, dive through the waves a little bit. That should be plenty to adapt to that temperature. And then you can get out and get in line and seed yourself accordingly. All right. Swim course, very straightforward. If you see that little line in the middle, that's the Santa Cruz Pier. It's on your right the whole way, right? So if you're not comfortable sighting, or if you think you slow down when you're sighting, there's no real reason to look, lift, breathe other than to go around the turn buoys. You're breathing to the right and you can sight that pier parallel to your swim on the way out and the way back. You're going towards the first turn or you're going towards the finish line. So yeah, just use that pier to your advantage. Obviously, if you want to sight those, those yellow buoys on the way out, the orange buoys on the way in, just to know that you're going straight, you can do that. And remember, those sighting buoys, the orange and the yellow and the orange buoys don't have to be, you can stay on either side of those buoys, but you got to go around the turn buoys. So if you're going on the inside of the yellow buoys, then you're gonna have to come around to go around the red buoys. Same thing, if you're going way to the outside of those buoys, you're gonna have to go way back to the turn buoy. So you want to stay in close proximity, but if you're on the right side or the left side when you're coming up to the sighting buoys, it doesn't make a difference. You can go on either side of them. Water temperature is about 61. Mulcahy told me 63, so expect it to be somewhere in there. Like I said, turn buoys are red. The way out, the buoys are yellow. The way in, the buoys are orange. We already talked about the pier. If there's waves at the start, typically, what are the waves like at the start? Anybody who's done this race, what have you encountered? Anyone?
I did it a few years ago. They're not that bad.
Okay.
1 to 2, 2 to 3, maybe 2 to 3.
So get through the waves quickly, get through that break, dive under the wave.
Yeah.
Remember, we have our wetsuits on. So even if there is a wave and it's small, we want to dive deep under that wave, because with the wetsuit, it wants to keep us at the top of the water. If we're not actively diving under the wave and we're letting that wetsuit keep us up, the wave is going to grab us and push us back, even if it's a tiny wave. So you want to dive under the water, feel the bottom, feel this bottom of the ocean, feel the sand with your chest, feel the wave go over you, and then pop up and get to swimming quickly, right? So the quicker you can get through that break, Even if it's tiny, those waves are still bringing water towards you and flushing water back. You want to get through it quick so you can get into your swim stroke quickly.
Hey, Jim,
Yeah.
got a question in the chat about if the buoys are a set distance apart.
Yeah, all the sighting buoys are 100 meters, and they're counted. You know, they're 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. You know, so you could actually wanted to count them for 19 buoys. They go all the way up to 19. So just an FYI, you can count those buoys, and they're every 100 meters. Obviously, we talked about the ocean entry, ocean exit, same thing. You know, even the waves are small. Make sure when you're coming in the last 200-300 meters, you look under your armpit as you're breathing, just to make sure no waves are coming from behind and going to toss you. So just pay attention to those waves on the way in, and we want you to keep your goggles. And if a wave comes from behind, there's a chance it could roll you and knock those goggles off. If that does happen, it's fine. Just keep moving forward. You'll get your wits about you again, but just kind of head it off at the pass and to make sure you're watching for those waves coming from behind you as you're coming into the finish of the swim. You get out of that finish, it's a long run to the transition area from the finish. You're going up the beach, across the boardwalk and all that into the transition area. So once you start moving and the heart rate starts to settle a little bit, start getting that wetsuit off, peel it down to your waist. So that way, once you get to your transition rack, all you have to do is bring it over your legs, put on your helmet, put on your shoes, grab your bike, and go. So start bringing that wetsuit down right away. Like we talked about the beach start. Remember, if it's crowded, it hasn't been too crowded lately with the way they're doing this start. But if it's crowded, you have the entire breadth of the ocean. So you can get out wider and give yourself a little free space to swim if you need a little more space and you need to calm down a little bit amongst the cold water, the wetsuit, all the people. Stay off to the side. It'll thin out eventually, 200, 300, 400 meters in. It thins out pretty well. But if you need a little more room, just stay off to the left a little bit and get a little wider. You're going to have to come a little further back to the turn buoy if you do that. But at least you know you're going to chill out and stay relaxed because you're not hyperventilating with people all the way around you. If you do hyperventilate, it happens, guys. It's where you feel like you lose your breath, you get nervous, and you really feel like you're not going to be able to go forward. You have a wetsuit on, you're not going to sink. Just relax, let float with the wetsuit, catch your breath again, regulate your breathing. And once it's regulated, then you can slowly start moving forward again. But it's something to be aware of, and it happens to everybody. Just be aware. If you start to lose your breath, if you start to get behind on that breath and you start to hyperventilate, it's just part of the process. You'll be fine. Just catch your breath, relax, and then get moving forward again once you do. Like I said, once you get through that break quickly, find that nice relaxed swim stroke, keep that cadence up, and sight, even if you're out to the left a little bit, sight that red turn buoy. It's a straight, you can see the turn buoy from the start. So sight the turn buoy so you're not veering too far off to the left, so you're not gonna have to swim all that extra yardage to come back and make those turns. We already talked about sighting off the pier, and yeah, in the ocean, it could be a little turbulent, could have a little bit of chop, so make sure you keep that cadence up. You might be a little wobbly upon getting out of the water, so take some breaths, just relax. You have to walk a little bit up the beach walk, but once you start to regulate, you start to feel good, keep moving forward and start to get a little jog on. Remember that transition is free time.
Hey, Jim.
Yeah.
But also I wanted to go ahead.
John.
No, we will be doing a warm up before the race. So, like what we do, get in the water prior to the race. They do allow that at Santa Cruz. So get there in, enough time to get yourself into the ocean and get acclimated to the water. It will help you extremely with this swim.
Yeah. Yeah. You don't want the initial time going in to be the race start. You want to feel it beforehand.
Try not to wait till the last minute. I'll be on the beach. Same thing, get in the water, doing a little warm up, and then get in line.
That's right. All right.
And then
so transition, like I said, make it quick. It's a long run. Keep moving. The heart rate will settle as you run. When you get to your bike, if you wear socks, don't be hasty and say, I'm just going to forget my socks. Take the time to put your socks on. A blister could ruin your day. This goes for the bike and the run. If you wear socks, put your socks on. Do exactly what you do on race day. Put the helmet, your sunglasses, your shoes on. Don't worry about putting the race belt on. You don't have to do that until the run. Grab your bike, carefully run through transition to the mount line, which is by the bike out area. it could be slippery, all those wet feet, all those wet humans. So if you're running with your bike, just be very careful that you don't, let a cleat get slippery and catch an edge and fall down. You could have hit, if you hit your hip before you leave the bike, that could make for a long ride. You got to get across that mount line before you get on your bike. The mount line is right past the bike out banner. So get through the bike out banner, get over the mount line, and then get on your bike and ride. And remember, transition's free time. So keep moving. Don't just stand there and play with your watch or eat a bar. You can do all that stuff while you're riding. So get in and get out. I don't want you guys to finish and say, oh God, if my transition would have been 30 seconds faster, I would have done this or I would have done that. So use that as free time. It's just as much part of the race as everything else.
Hey, Jim, we had a question in the chat about relays in T1, about how well that's marked and where that is.
Yeah, they'll have all the relay stuff, all the relay information when you check in. So you'll get all that information when you check in, and they'll tell you where your little pen is that you guys have to do all your your handoffs at, because usually the little pen, the swimmer runs that pen, switches the chip to the biker, and the biker does the same thing to the runner. So all that stuff will be clearly marked right by your bike rack. All right, pretty straightforward bike course, up and back PCH, 56 miles, 2,800 feet of gain. So it's just up and down, as you see the elevation chart on the lower right, nothing too flat. But it's what we practice every single bike session that we do. It's pushing over the top, getting up the speed, getting in that to descent, pushing up over the top, getting up the speed, getting into the descent. We want to keep constant pressure on those pedals, guys. That's going to lead to the best run splits, and that's going to lead to the best bike splits. But it's going to also lead to the best run splits, because it's not like you're just powering and relaxing. Good, steady pressure, push over, stay on the pedals, and get up to speed quickly as you get into those downhills. Obviously, you always want to stay right at all times. Make sure you look over your shoulder when you're looking to pass. Make sure no one else is coming. On the way out, just like PCH down here in Southern California, you're probably going to have a headwind as you're going north. Now, this could change. I'm just saying, typically heading north, you're going to have a headwind. Turn around and come back, and you're typically going to be flying with the tailwind. We'll talk about that shortly. So just be ready for that. Just know that, hey, I got a headwind right now. I'm moving at 10 miles an hour. I'm looking forward to that tailwind when I'm moving 30 miles an hour. But stay in your TT position, stay low, stay out of that wind. And whatever it is, as long as you're staying within your metrics that we laid out before race day, that you've honed in on session after session after session, you know that that's what you're capable of. Don't say, I'm going 10 miles an hour, I'm at 150 beats a minute. That's exactly where I should be. But I want to go 15 miles an hour. I'm going to go up to 170 beats a minute. All you're doing is crushing yourself for the rest of the ride and for the run. So if you're going in that headwind, keep a good head. Don't get hasty. Get through it, knowing that when you make that turn, you're going to be flying with the tailwind. Once again, once you get dismount line, just ease off the bike. Get off the bike before that line. Slow down really safely, and don't just come up to it and slam on the brakes. Here's some bike notes. Nice, strong. We already said strong, maintainable, steady effort. Keep the comfortable cadence the whole way through, like we practice every session, 70 to 80, especially as you push over the top. Don't grind so low. Change those gears so you can get over the top, get the cadence up, and get right on those pedals as you get into the downhill. Like I said, in the headwind, push a little harder effort, maintain that smooth, efficient pedal stroke, and stay in your TT position. Tailwind, you're going to push a little less of an effort. You're going to put your gearing into a bigger gear, right? So you're going to push a lower cadence because you're putting in a bigger gear, but you're going to be on the lower end of your zones, right? So if you're going into the race and you want to go 145 to 155 beats per minute, or 200 to 220 watts, with the tailwind, you're going to be on the lower side. It's harder, and you burn more matches to push a harder effort with the tailwind. So you want to be on the lower end of that zones that you're shooting for. Make sure you get on your fuel right away. Even if it's cloudy, overcast, and cool at the start of the bike, and you're cold from coming out of the water, get on your fuel right away. Start with your electrolytes and start with your carbohydrates, and stay on your schedule that you specifically have laid out there, no matter what the conditions are doing, right? Just because if it's going to be cold, damp, foggy, doesn't mean you forget about your electrolytes. Stay on those electrolytes. I already talked about staying in that TT position as much as you can. Stay present and focus on the process. The first 20, 25 miles is great, but then you get in that no man's land, 25 to 45, and your mind starts to wander. So stay focused on the process, stay focused on the techniques, and always be aware of the surrounding riders. If you're passing, I'm telling you guys, make sure you're looking off to your left. Make sure you are not cutting someone off or running into someone. And then at aid stations as well, it gets really crazy. Just if you have to slow down slower than you'd like to get something or to miss somebody because they're riding straight to the left. I've seen it done. They ride a complete right angle at the aid stations and almost take 5 riders out. Slow down and just be safe at those aid stations. Break the distance into 5 miles at a time. They have 5 mile markers on the bike. So every 5 miles, they have a marker. So just ride 5 miles to 5 miles to 5 miles. And what really helps you stay present is staying on top of those nutrition intervals. So if you say you're going to take a gel every 20 minutes, look at your clock. You take one at 5 minutes, you know, you take another one at 25 minutes, another one at 45 minutes. You say you're going to drink all your electrolytes every 5 minutes, you know, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes. So stay on those nutrition intervals, and that helps you stay present and get through the course. Before you know it, you're at the end saying, oh, I didn't realize that the race went by. I was just dialed into all the focus and the presence the entire way through.
Hey, Jim,
Questions on the bike course?
Jim?
Yeah.
Quick question about the hydration from the aid stations. What are they actually handing you, and how does that function?
Yeah, so there's aid stations at every approximately 15 miles. So 15, 30, 45. So the way it's always broken up, if you go to any Ironman race, it's going to be an aid station that's, you know, maybe 500 meters long. So the first set of volunteers are giving Gatorade. No, water. I'm sorry. First set of volunteers are giving water, right? It's water bottles, that sport top water bottles that you can sip off of or refill any bottles that you have. The second set of volunteers in the line is giving more, what is it? Mortal hydration now, right? So it's not Gatorade anymore. It's mortal hydration. The third set of volunteers is giving gels, bars. I mean, they might have pretzels, anything that's like food is that third set of volunteers. The fourth set of volunteers is going to be the electrolyte drink again, the mortal hydration. And then the last set of volunteers is water, right? So it goes water, electrolytes, food, electrolytes, water. And that's every aid station you ever see an Ironman event. And there's probably 20 to 30 volunteers of each section, right? So you can say it as you're coming up. Hey, I need electrolytes. I need electrolytes. I need gel. I need gel. I need gel. And they'll be there waiting for it. But doesn't mean you don't have to slow down. If you need something, slow down and make sure you get it. So, but that was a good question.
And then also with so if we're refilling like an onboard hydration, is there somewhere we can easily toss those bottles without getting penalized?
Yeah. So after the aid station, probably about 200-300 meters, there's a sign that says last chance trash drop. So I typically, if I'm empty on a bottle, I'll dump that bottle as I'm approaching the aid station. So I dump it out and then I get whatever I need, or I'll grab that first bottle of water and I'll fill my reservoir while I'm going through the rest of the aid station. If I finish filling it, then I'll grab the second from the last volunteers. I'll grab another one. I'll spray it all over me and take some sips of it. And all that stuff will be thrown by that last chance trash drop sign. But good question. All right, so we did this already. You did this. Okay, so transition 2. Only things you need, like we already said, run shoes, socks, hat, visor, gels, any nutrition you might need. Like I didn't say this at the beginning, but when you get into transition on Saturday, you put your bike down, find a big stagnant object that you can recognize. Hey, my bike is right near that palm tree or that outhouse, something that's not going to move. So then when you get in the transition from the swim or from the bike, you can find that big object and just run to that, knowing your bike or your rack and your shoes are right by that object, because it looks completely different when you come in from the bike and there's thousands of bikes, or when you come in from the run and there's no, or from the swim and there's thousands of bikes, or you come in from the bike and there's no bikes, right? So find a big object and you can say, hey, my rack is right next to that object. What you want to do when you come in the transition, right? You dismount, you come through, you run to your rack, you rack your bike. I want you to sit down, take your shoes off, put your running shoes on, right? Then you can click your helmet off, put it down, and then you grab all the rest of your stuff and you run out with the rest of your stuff. So all you're doing at your T2 rack is putting on your socks and shoes, taking off your helmet, and then grabbing your visor, your hat, your nutrition, your race belt. And as you're running out, you're putting all that stuff on. So I put my headband in my mouth, I have my gels in one hand, I have my race belt in the other hand, and as I'm running, I'm putting all that stuff on. So I'm not wasting time standing at the rack. And I'm telling you, no matter what your goal is for this race, you want to make the most of these transitions, because I don't care if someone wants to finish an Ironman in 17 hours. They always come back to me afterwards and saying, oh, my transition, I could have been 5 minutes faster, right? Make the most of this transition time. Put on your shoes, put on your socks, take off your helmet, and grab everything else and go. Don't waste time just standing there.
So I have a secret where you put everything in a plastic bag. You put your race belt, you put your gels, your sunglasses, everything's in a bag, right? So when you after you put your shoes on, you just grab that bag and you're already running out through transition, pulling things out of that bag as you're going.
And you can
So
just
you're
leave
already
a bag at an
moving.
aid station. Exactly. That makes it
As
easier
soon
for
as
you.
yeah, there's a trash can, usually right when you're leaving, you're entering into the run. You just throw that bag right into the trash can and you keep moving. You know, make the race belt the last thing you're putting on.
Yeah. Okay, so once you get out of transition, you're obviously going to be a little, it's 56 miles, few hours on the bike. You're going to be a little stiff. Your legs might not be under you right away. Give your first 5-10 minutes to get the legs moving, but don't give up on yourself in this time. You know it's going to be tough. You know that, you know, your legs are going to be stiff, but you also know you did all the training and you've had some great runs going into this race. So that will come back to you, but you got to get the legs moving, get some nutrition in your system, get a feel for the run, just get the turnover, and then you'll loosen up 5, 10, maybe 15 minutes in. You'll be right into that running stride that you've practiced session after session after session. But like we always say in our workouts, give yourself time. Don't be hard on yourself right away, but focus on the process, focus on the technique, and your legs will come around. Depending on what your goal is, some of you guys might want a negative split. Some of you guys want to build into your effort. Myself, I'm just going to run as fast as I can, mile to mile to mile, and see how long I can hang on. If you're looking to have a PR or do really well, you know, an endurance sport race like an Ironman or a half Ironman, it's typically who slows down the least as the race progresses, right? So I'm just going to try and take it out at a fast pace and try and hang on to that pace as I go. As you get to the off-road section, O'Driscoll, where's the off-road section? Why don't you tell everybody?
You know, don't remember, Jim. It's been a couple of years since I did this. I think it's like halfway through, isn't it, John? There's a little hop. I know you finish on the sand.
Yeah, you can see there from the map, it's about it's about 6 miles.
Yeah, I think it's halfway
The off-road section is about 2 miles.
Yeah.
So you run along, you're going through the trail to kind of some up and downs along the bluff. It's definitely a no trash zone, so they'll penalize you if you drop any trash. But then once you're off you're out of that zone, that trail zone too. Then you're back on the pavement and it's time to keep moving.
Well, that's the thing. Like when you get in that off-road area, that wants to slow your feet down, right? You don't have the grip. The shoe doesn't have the grip on the ground to grab it and push off, right? So we want to get our cadence up, drive our knees, and get a little more movement of our legs as we get into that area, because we don't have that typical push off. Because then, like John said, once you go back to the pavement, you feel like you're floating because you're getting such good purchase on that ground to drive you forward. When you're in the off-road section, that isn't happening. So get your cadence up, drive your knees. I'm not saying run like like you're running in place, but just be a little more cognizant of moving your legs a little faster, driving your knees with a little more momentum to get through that section. Take it 1 mile at a time. Don't take it out at mile 1 and say, God, I got 12 more miles of this misery left. I mean, if you're going hard, it's going to be hard. If you're going hard, it's going to be hard. Just accept it. Take it 1 mile at a time. Don't get overwhelmed with the amount of distance you have left, and just run 1 mile to the next. As long as you stay on top of your nutrition, you stay within your ability levels, you're going to have a great race. But the bad wolf will pipe up. It'll tell you, why are you doing this? This hurts. This isn't necessary. You could be home drinking coffee right now, petting your cat. Turn it off. Think about the process. Think about the technique. Like I said, stay on top of that nutrition and just run 1 mile at a time. A good trick that I like to use is every mile marker, I count 50 strides with my left. I count 50 strides with my right. And before you know it, you're a quarter mile in just by doing that. So so just keep yourself present by counting, focusing on that technique, staying nice and tall, and just using the course are running the course with the way we know how to run. You get an uphill, drive your knees, lean into it, push over the top, get the legs moving on the downhills. No different than we did on the bike. Use the aid stations. They're set up the same way as the bike aid stations. So you have water, electrolytes, but now they're going to throw in Coke, but that's not until the second half of the aid station. So you have water, electrolytes, food. They'll have chips, they'll have pretzels, they'll have gels, bars, and then they go into Coke, Red Bull, electrolytes, and then water again. So use those aid stations and dump water on yourself. Take a sip of electrolytes here and there. Don't chug those electrolytes. But if you feel like you need a little kick in the ass, take some of the Coke, take some of the Red Bull. Don't chug it, but take a sip, and then take a sip every so often just to give you a little bit of jet fuel to help push you through the end of the race to finish strong. I'm going to show you some Training Peaks notes in a second. That just was reminding me to do that. And just remember, guys, every second counts. So no matter what your goal is for the race, you want to take it seriously and, stay within your ability levels, race smart, and just don't waste time out there, because we're going to have some fun afterwards having pizza, right, O'Driscoll?
That's it. Did you put the link for the video that you made on transitions on getting your wetsuit off? I had some great response on that today.
It
Is that
was
possible
somewhere.
to put that link in here?
Yeah, I'll
If
find
you
it.
just type, if you go to YouTube and type in Tower 26 transition, you'll see Jim's great video on taking your wetsuit off.
I'll find it.
The
I'll
video.
find it in 1 second. But okay, so real quick, what I did, it took me 10 minutes to do this afternoon, just because I know my training, I know where I'm at. But I went and I made notes on my swim, my bike, and my run. So I just made things that I want to remember as I go into race day, based on where my mind has been throughout training and, my years of racing experience. So if you want to read that, just take it out strong, attack the surf, get through the sets, the waves, get in the stroke as soon as possible. As you get through the break, keep that swim cadence up. Always use the pier to sight on the right, staying parallel to the pier. Hips stay stable. Hips is something I've been working on technique wise. Hips stay stable and kick is timed with the pole every stroke. Be mindful of the exit. Look under the armpit of the breath of the oncoming waves. When you feel you hit the ground, start dolphin diving towards the finish of the swim, right? So you don't have to swim all the way till your fingertips hit the ground. When you see other athletes standing up, you can stand up and start dolphin diving. You're going to move a little quicker than people that are swimming to get out of the water. I did the same thing on the bike. Use the first 10 minutes to get moving. I notoriously know the first 10 to 15 minutes, I feel like garbage on the bike every single race. So I have to know that I'm just going to spin the legs, get the legs under me, start taking some caffeinated gels in that first 10 minutes. Once I get through 10, maybe 15 minutes, then I'll start feeling good and be able to get into that power and that heart rate that I'm expecting to execute on race day. Start getting on those electrolytes and the gels right away. Don't wait. I know after that 30-minute swim, I'm going to be started to be depleted. So we want to get that topped off. So stay on top of the fuel right away. Like I said, know on the way out, you're going to get a headwind. So keep the heart rate higher, around 160. Once you make the turnaround, it's going to put it into a big gear. Use the tailwind to push you along, keeping the heart rate closer to 150. Always try to keep the cadence in the high 70s. I always try to keep my race pace cadence around 78. I'm going to sip off my gel bottle. So what I do with my nutrition, I'll show you guys this in a second. I put all my gels in one bottle. So I'm going to sip off that bottle every 15 minutes. I'm going to sip off my electrolyte bottle every 5 minutes. And then every 30 minutes, I take a straight caffeinated gel. So over the course of this race, I've been practicing with it. I've done for years. I'm probably going to take about 15 to 17 gels on the bike. It's a lot, but I'm used to it. That's what I do. And then use the aid stations, replenish any water, and take caffeine gels if I need more. And same thing for the run. I hope you guys don't think I'm wasting your time. I'm showing what I do. And if you want to go do this tonight, and then we can talk about it as your coach, we can talk about this, or you can talk about it with your coach, go over any last minute questions you might have. You can do this tonight, sit down based on what you know through your training and do this the same thing. Take it out of T2 strong. Remember the feeling I had on the wrecker last week? I felt great coming off the bike on the wrecker. I want to have that same feeling when I come off the bike in Santa Cruz. I know it's going to hurt, but it always hurts when you're running strong and you can run through that type of pain. I'm going to take a gel every other aid station. I'm going to be carrying salt pills with me. I'm going to take those every other aid station as well. a lot of times we forget about nutrition on the run just because we're in the pain cave. That first half of the run, we got to make sure we stay on top of our nutrition and we don't get depleted, because that'll show up in the second half of the run. So gel every other aid station, salt every other aid station. Make sure I'm taking it a mile at a time. Relax the upper body, and I make sure I'm taking those deep, relaxed breaths as I'm running. And I know I have the best runs when I don't even look at my watch. I know I'm doing what I can do. My watch is not telling me anything that I don't know already based on my effort. So I really don't pay attention to the watch as I'm running. So I just did that. If you guys want to do that, do a similar thing, and then we can talk about it and go over any last minute issues or questions that are on your mind. All right, what else? What else we got? O'Driscoll, what I miss?
I don't know. I think Max is doing an outstanding job there on the ones and twos.
He's my roommate. That's why.
Oh, you guys are roommates.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Yep.
Ooh.
Hey, Jim, I had a couple questions for like pre-race kind of things. Since there's some distance and time between transition and the swim start, like, do you recommend having like a thrift store t-shirt or something we could throw on and just get rid of on race day?
Usually they have a morning clothes bag drop off. This is something we're gonna have to find out. I'm not sure if they have that on this one, but we'll have to find out. They don't. So
No.
because it's one transition, so they don't have it. But honestly, if you're getting your wetsuit on at your bike rack, you shouldn't need
shouldn't need it.
anything. Yeah, you should.
Yeah,
Right. Okay.
I've
Just
never
make sure-
needed it. But there is one where we probably didn't talk about it. When you come out of the water from that long transition, a lot of people will leave an old pair of tennis shoes, pair of socks. Maybe they don't want to run on that hard gravel based on the sensitivity of your feet. There is a lot of people that do it. So you want to bring some way to identify where your shoes are if you're going to do it. You know, pink string or something so that you can see what you're going to grab. But typically,
Okay.
T26 people don't do that, and we just run.
So I put the YouTube link for getting your wetsuit off if you want a reminder how to get that wetsuit off quickly. All right, anything else? What else we got?
Hey, Jim, I also had a question about leaving your bike overnight. Do you recommend like covering anything like saddle or handlebars?
I mean, some people put a garbage bag over it. I've never done that before. I don't think it's really necessary, but if that makes you comfortable, and I don't know if there's any rain or precipitation in the forecast. If that was the case, yeah, you might want to do that. So we might have to look at that on Saturday before you drop your bike off. But you would just, put a garbage bag over it, then put some duct tape here and there to keep it tamped down. So it's a good consideration to take if it's going to rain on Saturday night, but I don't think there's rain in the forecast.
Would you suggest, Jim, doing the practice swim on Saturday morning and then going straight to the transition area and racking your bike and
don't
bother.
Wait till later in the day. Don't do it all at once. There's no sense in bringing it all down with you and trying to knock it all out at once.
Yeah.
Go to the swim. Maybe
Enjoy
if anyone wants to
swim.
go for a run afterwards, you can go for a run. If anyone wants to go for a ride afterwards, you can go for a ride, but don't go drop your bike off until 3:30. There's no need.
Yeah. And what would you suggest on people eating on Saturday afternoon, evening,
Carb load,
early
baby.
evening?
Carb load, 5:30, 6 o'clock. It's really hard to coordinate a team dinner, so we're not going to do that. We'll meet afterwards somewhere after the race. But I would say 5:30, 6 o'clock, eat something, so that way you have 2-3 hours to digest before you go to bed. So
And
don't eat too late.
Mainly carbs with some extra.
Carbs. There's carbs, guys. Eat a little lean protein, maybe some vegetables, maybe some salad, but make sure you have rice or pasta or noodles of some sort that's going to top off those glycogen reserves for race day. Our bodies hold about 400 grams of carbohydrates, right? That's what we can hold in carbohydrates. We want to be topped off going in the race day. So once we start our effort, we know that we're relying on those carbohydrates we took in on Saturday and Sunday morning to start fueling us. And then we have to keep replenishing as we go, because those come down pretty quick. They're like kindling wood out of a fire. They burn really easily. They burn really fast. They burn really fierce, but they also burn really quickly. So we got to keep replenishing them, but we want to go into it as topped off as we can.
going to Jonathan's question on the team dinner, it's absolutely impossible, Jonathan, to get a large group in any of the restaurants up there. I've tried it for 2 years in a row. It's impossible to do. It was a nightmare last year.
We'll have something afterwards at a pizza
Yes,
place.
I
There's
think
a
there's
pizza place down the street.
across the street for race on Sunday morning, Sunday afternoon.
I'm gonna take the list of athletes on the Tower 26, the one that I showed at the beginning. I'm gonna send out an email. So if anybody wants to do a dinner on Friday night or anything, you can just reply all to that email. You might get, nobody spam it and talk about their real estate company or anything. But I've seen that. I've had that happen before, Jonathan. Believe me.
Yeah.
I'll send an email out tonight and I'll put all you guys on there. And that way everybody has in contact with each other. Anybody forgets anything, anybody needs anything last minute, at least we can use the strength of our team to help out. And then if anybody wants to do dinner, they can say, hey, I'm going to Jerry's Deli. Anybody want to meet me there? Let's go.
Hey, Jim, I had a question in regards to the salt pills that you were talking about, as far as like taking them every other aid station. So usually, like, the salt tabs, they usually say take every hour. So even if you're taking them before an hour, that's totally fine.
Yeah, we're not a normal human. We're exerting ourselves.
Yeah, but Sean, you don't want to
well.
be doing this if you've never practiced taking salt tablets. It's not something you want to start on race day.
No. I do take them, but I
you
usually
do.
gap them out for an hour. Like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean?
I do it a little. I go overboard knowing that I can handle it. So if you want to take one every 3 to 4 miles, it's fine. I just do it. I just look at it like a way to check off the box. Like, okay, gel here, salt here, gel here, salt here, and then I get halfway through, and maybe it falls off a little bit, but I know I front end loaded that nutrition.
Jim, you're a heavy sweater, so
oh yeah,
someone who doesn't sweat that much, you don't need to be taking salt tablets. If you take too much, they will give you a really upset stomach.
As long as it happens after, I'll deal with it.
It happens after, it's fine.
Exactly.
All right, but yeah, definitely something you want to practice. So, and then stay on the electrolytes now all the way until race day, guys. Start sipping on the 1500 or the 1750, whatever you got. Start sipping on it now so you can stay on top of those electrolytes, especially in the heat that we're having out here. We get depleted just by sitting around. So I don't want any cramping or electrolyte related issues on race day because we're depleted now. So start sipping on it and just keep it coming in through race day.
Another thing that you and Jack brought up yesterday in the podcast is a couple of early nights. Go to bed a little bit earlier each night. Friday night, Saturday
need to
night.
burn the midnight oils.
Yeah.
Get the bed, get the feet up, turn the phone off, and shut it down. These are the nights of sleep that count. These are the nights of sleep that count because typically you're not going to sleep much on Saturday night. So, all right. Anything else? Just email us, text us, put it in the YouTube link. But yeah, guys, this is gonna be awesome. We have such a great contingent. Anybody needs anything, obviously reach out to one of the coaches. I'll send that email out later. If I don't have your email, you think I might not have your email me, jim@jimlubinsky.com, and I will make sure you're on the list. And yeah, let's have some fun. 9 a.m. race practice or at the race start south side of the pier. We'll see you guys there. Thanks for joining. This is always
Good luck,
fun.
everyone.
Love doing these things. Yeah, let's crush.
Thanks.